when people look back at last year and Kalen DeBoer's first year, and they're like, "Oh, guy didn't even win double-digit games." And by the way, I don't even know if you remember the last time Alabama didn't win double-digit games in a football season. Uh, let's just say it was well over a decade ago. So people were furious. People were like, "Okay," I say people, Alabama fans, furious about a 9-win Kalen DeBoer season, which I think a lot of SEC teams would love to beat 9 wins. But obviously, that's not the standard. You had the talent to win more games. You didn't. You saw some frustrating plays from Jalen Milroe. You saw some frustrating breakdowns in some games that you shouldn't have lost from your defense. I mean, the losses to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt were just, they were brutal and they really were unacceptable. And it was the reason you didn't get into the college football playoffs. However, this team is really good. All right. Like, if this is, it's pretty playoff or bust right here. I'm not saying Kalen DeBoer would be on the hot seat if they don't make the playoffs, but CD, I think you can agree this team is loaded from top to bottom. And I don't think people are realizing how well Kalen DeBoer is doing in the transfer portal and how well he is doing on the recruiting trail. I don't think talent is going to be an issue for Alabama now and moving forward.
No, definitely not. He is who we thought he was coming over from Washington. We were high on him, no doubt. He got put into a very tough situation. I'm not making excuses for him, nor should I. And the expectations were higher than that, even with everything that went on last offseason. That's not an excuse to lose to an Oklahoma team that was really struggling and a Vanderbilt team that is significantly less talented than you, right? Especially after some of your bigger wins, and of course the Michigan game and the Bulls. I mean, some say Bulls don't matter. We on this show say Bulls do matter. We love bowl season. We think it's awesome for college football. We have a fun time covering that. But yeah, it has to be better, and I think it will this year. I think it will. Yeah, obviously you got some question marks at some key positions, but there's talent there, man. There's talent there. And it's not even just talent, it is old talent too, which is very fun.
Yeah, and in the SEC, like, Alabama had one of the bigger coordinator shuffles in the entire SEC because there were not a lot of coordinator movement. There was 0 head coaches fired or hired in the SEC. They're all coming back. A single digit number of coordinator changes in the SEC, and overall the least coaching turnover in terms of top to bottom, positional coaches in the SEC is the lowest of any conference in the last 5 years, right? So unprecedented levels of continuity here in coaching staffs in the SEC. Alabama's no exception, but Ryan Grubb coming back. If you're watching this, you know who Ryan Grubb is. All right, he's now the offensive coordinator at Alabama. He was with the Seattle Seahawks the year before, and he was the famed offensive coordinator for Kalen DeBoer's Washington Huskies. Before that, Fresno State. I mean, he's been with Kalen DeBoer for a while. But Ryan Grubb was the guy that a lot of people give him credit for unlocking Michael Penix and Rome Odunze, Jalen McMillan, Jalen Polk. I mean, that was a loaded Washington team with great offensive weapons, but yeah, he definitely got the most out of them, beating some elite teams in which they were not favorites in. And I think that was the appeal, bringing Kalen Bohr as well. Like, oh, is Ryan Grubb going to come? He doesn't come. Seattle Seahawks unfairly, I think, move on from him. Um, Now we're here. And he's coming in with the quarterback position being the biggest question mark. We talked about positions having big question marks. That's the one. That's the key one. Ty Simpson just recently won the job, the starting job, as we expected. We know there was some competition going on there with Austin Mack, who's a guy that worked with Ryan Grubb before at Washington, before he transferred to Alabama when Kalen DeBoer came here just a season ago. Look, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the quarterback position because it's impossible to project really what he's going to do. We've seen him some in limited action. He's pretty dang talented, but I think this team is good enough around him. We said this about Will Howard last year. Go back and quote us in that Ohio State preview. We said this team is the most talented team in college football, probably, except maybe for Georgia. And it's so talented that Will Howard does not need to be an elite quarterback to win a national championship. Look at the past 4 years of national championships. Will Howard was not the best quarterback in college football. J. McCarthy, first round quarterback, but not the best quarterback in college football. They didn't win that national championship because of the quarterback position. Stetson Bennett with Georgia those 2 years before. I mean, you don't need an elite quarterback to win
Even
a
Mac
national
Jones
championship.
too. Mac
Yeah,
Jones.
Mac Jones. I mean, that was a team that was loaded. All right, that was a loaded team. So yeah, and I know two of those guys are first round quarterbacks. They all ended up playing in the NFL to some degree, but I think this team is good enough to win. Even if Ty Simpson plays above average quarterback play, I think that they can do it. Think about the Alabama quarterbacks. The best quarterback in Alabama history did not win a national championship. That's Bryce Young, right? Jalen Hurts did not win a national championship. I mean, well, he did, but Tua kind of came in there and saved him, right? Um, it was Jalen Coker, AJ McCarron, Greg McElroy, right? Those are the guys that have won national championships for Alabama. I think Ty Simpson could definitely fit that bill if he's just taking care of the football and letting this team just run wild and this coaching staff do its thing.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be hard to project. Obviously, we don't know exactly what's going to be. It is cool that he is a fourth year guy. I think not only does he have familiarity with DeBoer being there last year, but also obviously like a veteran guy, leadership, like a guy well known in that locker room. Obviously, you got to give him a lot of credit for sticking around, being a 5-star kid, having opportunities to transfer, and he's stuck with it. And not only when when Kalen DeBoer brought over Austin Mack from Washington with him, when they brought in Keelan Russell, the 5-star, obviously very high prospect in this year's recruiting class. He's stuck to it and he's earned his way to this starting job. Very happy for him to see what he can do with it. When I look around at recent Alabama quarterbacks, I love how you brought up that point where it's like, yeah, some of the best ones didn't win it. And obviously, like you had Bryce and Tua, and even Tua, like when he was the full-time starter, he never won it either. And obviously Jalen Hurts had some things there, and Mac Jones is whatever. But if I look at those quarterbacks, I don't think he has to be in that top elite group at all for this team to win a title. Like you said, with Will Howard and some of the recent quarterbacks, like if he's right around there, in somewhere between Mac Jones and Jalen Coker, right, somewhere on that spectrum. Like if he's staying healthy, if he's not turning the ball over, if he is checking into runs, and this offensive line is progressing like we think it will, and he's able to take advantage of the catch and run aspects and some of these schemed open plays that they will have with these receivers, yeah, I think he can be a very, very serviceable, sounds wrong, but very good quarterback for Alabama.
And if we take out the Tua and Jalen Hurts kind of situation, right? Quarterbacks that have won a national championship at Alabama under Saban, they all did it as first year starters, right? They all did it as first year starters.
Yeah,
Jalen Coker did it his first
McElroy,
year. McElroy did it his first year. AJ McCarron did
McCarron,
it his first year. Take out.
Tua,
It wasn't a
his first,
start, but he started the
yeah,
half. His
yeah.
first start of the half. So it's doable. It's doable. Now let's look at the rest of this offense, CD, because I'm pretty excited about it. Although I'll tame expectations at running back. I think Jam Miller's a solid running back. I think the offensive line will help in that area. I think he was, a little bit less tenacious last year than I wanted it to be. I think Justice Haynes losing him, like he didn't get enough carries in this offense last year. I'm sorry. All right, he did not.
He didn't produce. Like when he did get carries, he didn't produce as much as I thought he should have, or like we thought he was going to.
Yes, but I thought he was clearly the best, and I would say statistics would back it up. I thought he was clearly the best. I think Jam Miller, can do a lot of things too. Like he can catch balls out of the backfield. He can block a little bit. I like Jam Miller. I think he's good. Don't think he's a game breaker. I think they got some nice pieces in this room as well. Richard Young, Daniel Hill, Dre Washington, who they got from Louisiana, who's pretty solid. A little bit smaller, but definitely the explosive type. So it's going to be very interesting here. Kevin Riley's another guy. He's super young. I'm going to say that room's fine. Not going to be a game breaker, right? I don't think injuries are going to have a huge impact on that position. If they do happen, I think they'll be fine. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah. It's one that if you had to pick a position that you're concerned about, and it's like high level play, yeah, it's probably that one there. But again, it's 2025. Running backs are important. We love running backs, but it's not going to make or break, national championship contender.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, now you get to the quarterback, right? And you're like, all right, what's it looking like talent around him in terms of pass catchers? Walk us through these pass catchers for Alabama because they're pretty good.
Yeah, I love it. We were talking, real quick. I'll just introduce. We were talking about putting Mbakwe as a Jalen Mbakwe, obviously 5-star freak, one of the best athletes on the field on the team of Alabama. Guy switching over from corner to wide receiver. We were talking about like really getting into him and like seeing what's going to go on and projecting him as a guy that's going to break out. And we're looking around his room. It's like, is he going to even have the option to? Like, you can only really have 5 guys play in one game, like significant snaps. So like, and obviously you have Ryan Williams, who's not gonna. You don't want to take him on the field. Jeremy Bernard, you don't want to take him off the field. Isaiah Horton, a kid from Miami, bigger bodied, right, physical freak, a guy that kind of gives you a different dynamic in that room. He sounds like he's having an incredible camp. This staff loves him. He, I think, is a guy. It's a great compliment to Bernard and Williams. You also have Rico Scott. Yeah, Cole Adams, couple returning younger guys. Jalen Hale hopefully gets more back from that pre-injury. He was a guy that was about to break out, gets hurt unfortunately. You also have Ladzier Brooks, right, the young kid, freshman guy that's kind of popping right now, and then obviously Mbakwe too. So a lot of different bodies, a lot of experience, a lot of youth and talent mixed in there. It's a really fun group, and Ty Simpson. Say what you want about Milroe and whatever. Like Ty Simpson is better equipped to take advantage of this room than Milroe was, right? And also probably better equipped than Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, right? Obviously, those guys are fun, exciting, young, freak talents as well. And let's give Simpson his props too. He's a very talented dude as well, also a very good athlete. But with what he can do processing, hopefully, and with his arm talent, getting the ball, distributing the ball, and obviously with the Ryan Grubb coming back, you hope that's all the equation or all in the equation for a really good passing offense for Alabama this year.
The tight end position, I don't think is going to be contributing to that a ton. I mean, you lost one guy to eligibility, another guy to the NFL. I mean, he was more of a blocker, anyways. And then, you get one guy transferring out of there. And you're kind of left. You see Alabama invest in the portal, more in this position than other positions, mainly for like just depth. I mean, it'll be Cuevas, I think, but who knows what's going to emerge from that position? Saw him use multiple tight ends last year. Really hard to say, in my opinion, what they're going to be doing with that. The superstars here are the pass catchers on the outside in this offense for sure.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add to the tight end position is you do have Cuevas, who's going to be the starter, right? Um, he's kind of battling injuries as well. So is Danny Lewis, another guy that's also kind of been limited in the fall. Those don't sound like serious injuries, but if they do start linger over to the regular season, like that could be a spot where you start to see some of those transfers come in. I think a lot of that times you had those transfers like being more hopefully like blocking tight ends, guys that can play niche roles, not necessarily catch 35, 40 passes for you in this offense. Then you got a couple young guys, Marshall Pritchett, Caleb Edwards, obviously like very talented young kids, but maybe a year or two away in terms of wanting to see meaningful snaps out of them if you're Alabama.
The offensive line. I mean, you see it in like all these, preseason rankings from national media. It's like, oh, top 5 offensive lines in the country, and Alabama's pretty much in all of them. And I, you know, tend to kind of agree. Like the projection is there. I mean, from left to right. I mean, you got Caden Proctor, left tackle, NFL guy. Wouldn't be surprised if he goes out this next year. I'm still kind of waiting for him, of course, to like really be like that elite, like the guy that we were talking about, from day one being the best, tackle in college football one day. I think that he can get there still. He has the body for it for sure. He's just a freak. And then those guard spots are going to be interesting. Parker Brailsford for sure is going to be that center spot. He's fantastic. Uh, Jaden Roberts is going to be there at guard. The other guard spot, I mean, pick one. I mean, is it going to be Vandemark, you think?
I've heard that Dewberry is making it close. It sounds like there's an open competition between left and right guard, with Roberts kind of getting dinged up in fall camp and having Dewberry and Vandemark. I think the moral of the story is that you have 3 guys you feel very, very good about, 3 guys that are 22, 23 years old that like are big bodied, obviously have experience in the NCC, in the Big Ten, like obviously like guys that you feel very comfortable trotting out there. Roberts was a guy I was super high on last year. Obviously, didn't live up to what he had done honestly back in 2023. You hope that this year he could take a step, hopefully stay healthy, and be a rock for them on that interior. But yeah, I think that the upside with this O line, I think, is left tackle, center, right tackle. Right, you talked about Proctor living up to the billing of his 5-star first round pick kind of caliber. Earlsford continuing to be a rock for them in that middle, and then Formby, Wilkin Formby, a guy that right tackle spot has been one that has been a problem for Alabama for 2 years now, right? And this one, like, you hope Formby takes that step. He's third year guy coming in. The one concern I would have is injuries. That's especially at those tackle spots, because behind them you got some young guys that obviously Bama's 18-year-old offensive linemen look a whole heck of a lot different than most of the country's 18-year-old offensive linemen. But
Yeah,
the fact
six
is,
seven
like,
318. That's what it looks like at Alabama.
just and like a lean like it's incredible. And obviously, like, they're very happy about those guys, and I'm sure they'll become very good players in the future. I think that staff is pretty high in their O-line class this year they had. But the other thing is, like, this is Kalen DeBoer. Like, you don't want to have to rely on 18-year-old guys if they're not ready. And that's why you need to stay healthy and also have Wilkin Formby, like, continue to take that next step and be, an all SEC kind of caliber tackle for you.
Yeah, so I tend to agree with national media that, like, that this will probably be a top 5 offensive line in college football, but at the same time, you're still depending on folks taking a leap, taking a jump, which you don't want to have to rely on completely. And like you said, injuries could derail that pretty quickly. But if the ceiling of this offense is going to be met, it's going to be probably the offensive line taking a huge step. And I'm just gonna believe that Ty Simpson's gonna be an average to above average quarterback. I'm not projecting him to be something elite or really terrible. I think the ceiling of this offense, I think people may disagree with this, but I think the ceiling of this offense is gonna kind of hinder on this offensive line staying healthy and also those guys taking the steps that they need to take. Defensively, this team is nasty on defense. Nasty. I guess I'll let you start here in the front seven. This team is nasty, man. It is nasty.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I mean, we've been talking about Quay Rousseau, right? A guy that we think is, someone you do need to get to know for this college football season. Obviously, if you're a recruiting nut, if you're an Alabama fan watching this, you probably know who he is. 5-star kid, very freak athlete. He flashed a little bit last year at times. Yeah, him and Overton, right, coming off your edges, as well as like Latham and Yanze Pierre, a couple of depth guys. We will see Keon Keeley, a guy that, hopefully taking that step for you. Sounds like he put on some weight. Sounds like he changed positions a little bit. And hopefully could play a role for you, whether it's early down run stuffing, whether it's getting after the quarterback. Like, I will say, we talked about the offensive line being the part of the offense to help it reach its ceiling. I think it's the pass rushers in this group. I believe in the pass rushers to take that step. That's why I'm going to be very high on Alabama with their expectations in the regular season and in that postseason. I think it's going to come from this group here of pass rushers, especially on the edges. Obviously, Tim Keenan, James Smith, a couple guys on that interior that you feel pretty good about coming back. Hopefully they can stay healthy. Kelby Collins is a guy coming over from Florida. Gives you depth and versatility, whether it's from 5 technique down to 3, maybe. You don't really want him playing nose for you, but it sounds like you got a piece there. Obviously, SEC body, good athlete, big physical dude. So it's a fun group. It's a very fun group, and something that Alabama is going to have to take advantage of.
Yeah, and I mean, Quay Rousseau talks beamingly about Justin Hill. That's a guy I think that gets a lot of chatter for sure. True freshman coming in, has already put on a lot of weight, coming on campus. That's a guy that can make some noise pretty early here. But that's the beauty of this, is like, he might not have to. Like, as good as he is, or as good as he might be, he might not have to. And I mean, linebacker, you get all those guys. I mean, Jahad Campbell is probably the biggest loss for this entire Alabama team. First round linebacker to the Eagles. freak athlete. He was the best linebacker in college football last year, and I don't think it was close. I really don't think it was close. So that's a big loss. But you get back like veteran experience. You get a great transfer in there as well. And depending on the health of your other guys, you might not even play that much. The transfer linebacker you're getting over there from Colorado, Kelby Collins is an interesting piece as well that you're adding that can play off the edge, a little bit off ball. It's a good front seven. It's a really good. It's not necessarily the dominant front sevens that you've seen for Alabama, in the Nick Saban era, but this is a dang good front seven. Where I think the money is going to be made for this defense is this secondary might be sick. All right, it is insane. I mean, up and down. I mean, a lot of you guys watching this video will know these names, but I mean, just let's think about it. All right, Keon Sabb at safety, phenomenal football player. We talked about him a lot last year. Was a versatile piece at Michigan. Got hurt after playing great last year. He's back. Damani Jackson, we know he's very solid. He'll be your cornerback one. Bray Hubbard, one of the better safeties in college football last year that zero people talk about. Zero people talk about. Uh, Deshaun Jones, Xavier Brown, Cam Calhoun, you got as a transfer from Utah, who was really good in his snaps there, and a guy that was recruited to play, won a national championship with Michigan. Not that he was an important piece, but he's been in that championship culture in that locker room. Dejoun Lee might be a stud. Red Morgan. I mean, like every person in this room is so good, and I'm just like, this is nuts. Like you said, if this pass rush gets after it, combined with this secondary, like teams are going to struggle throwing the football against Alabama. And you go down their schedule, I'm not seeing a lot of elite quarterbacks on their schedule. Elite throwers of the football. Right, last year Diego Pavia gave them real issues. Georgia, do we believe they have an elite thrower? I wouldn't say so. Tennessee, no. Missouri, no. South Carolina, I wouldn't call the North Cells an elite thrower. Really, the only one that you're circling on the calendar is LSU, Garrett Nussmeier. But guess what? You get him at home. All right. And Garrett Nussmeier, when he went on the road against A&M last year, and the pass rush started getting to him, and this is with a new offensive line, by the way, for LSU, which we'll talk about in our LSU preview. I'm just saying, like, this could really work out for Alabama, from a schedule dynamic perspective. There's not like a ton of elite quarterbacks in the SEC. Like, if there's a year to have, man, a really good secondary, it might be this year because I think the wide receiver rooms across the SEC are a little bit down this year. Maybe that's not the right word, but also two quarterbacks last year weren't fantastic in the SEC, so that plays a role in that sort of projection. But yeah, this secondary might be special. And you added Jason Jones, as assistant DB's coach, and he's known Kalen DeBoer for years. And it's like, come on, like you keep both of those guys, Kane Womack and Maurice Linguist, like complete continuity across the board, defensive coaching staff. It is nuts. This defense, it might be the best defense in the SEC. It might be the best defense in the country. We'll just have to see.
Yeah, I can't believe you left off Tommy Castellanos on that, because if you ask him, man, he's going to give this defense real problems. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you on, like, this is awesome. I will say it's going to be fun, and I think it's very intriguing for Kane Womack, defense coordinator, right? Mo Linguist, defensive backs guy, Jason Jones, defensive backs guy, right? To get the most out of this this defensive back room in terms of like figure out a rotation and schemes and matchups that work for you. Like obviously the talent and versatility and the bodies and the sheer like speed and length, everything you want in a prototypical. It feels like a Nick Saban defensive back room. And here are we like 12 months removed from talking about the defensive back room last year as being a potential spot for weakness where you have injuries. You've got young youth and inexperience and question marks in the portal coming in. And here we are. It's a big time strength for them. First of all, credit to the staff and obviously getting that together, not only tapping into some potential of some guys, but identifying guys in the portal that they liked, and obviously hitting on them and continuity there. But yeah, it's going to be fun in terms of figuring out what this rotation looks like. I would like to see somebody in that cornerback room, whether it's Damani Jackson or Xavier Brown, like develop into like a star, like a legit lockdown in terms of like you cannot go there. Like you've seen these Alabama teams of the past where they just have a cornerback that shuts down an entire part of the field. And if you can have one of those guys with the versatility of those other guys in that room, I think that makes that really, really fun, really dangerous for what they can do and accomplish on defense this season.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that my pick to win the national championship this year is actually Alabama. Uh, from a schedule perspective, too, I think Phil Steele, and folks can fact check me on this, but Phil Steele has Alabama as having the 11th toughest schedule in the SEC. When has that ever happened for Alabama ever? All right, like in the last like 15 years for in I say ever in the Saban era, right? So schedule wise, I think you're in a great spot. If you win 10 games, you're in the college football playoffs. All right, we saw a 10-win team last year make the college football playoffs. That was the most talented team in the country and win it. Also, too, the last, well, I don't know, since LSU won it in 2019, the team with the most NFL draft picks that season just won the national championship. Fact check it. Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, LSU. Last six of them all had the most NFL draft picks that following season. Some of that, comes from just winning a national championship, right? You get the national championship bump, but at the same time, I look up and down this roster. I think about guys that can go to the NFL this year. And I'm counting double digits. I'm counting 12, maybe 13, and that'll do it some years, man. That'll do it some years.
And that don't even include Ryan Williams and Xavier Brown and like some of these like first and second year guys that are going to get drafted at some point down the line. It's incredible.
Yeah. This team is loaded. Biggest question mark, obviously quarterback. And again, like we've talked about, you don't need an elite quarterback to win a national championship, right? You don't need it. Okay. You need to have not bad quarterback. You can't have bad quarterback play. We know that. But man, this team is so loaded. So I'll pick them to win the SEC and the national championship, which means I'm also their win totals 9.5. If you hopped on it early enough, you could have gotten it at plus 110. Thank you for being early on it, Matthew Dawson. Way to go, past Matthew Dawson. I don't know what the number's at right now, but yeah, I'm on the over for this win total. I mean, if you're gonna dangle that thing at 9.5 for me, yes, please. I get there's a lot of ranked teams on this schedule. Oklahoma at home, LSU at home, Tennessee at home. Great news. Great news. And a South Carolina team that's I don't know. In my opinion, I think they'll be taking a step back, but we'll see.
Yeah, and also too. Well, first of all, real quick, yeah, it's at 9.5 at minus 114. So you got good value there. Obviously, Vegas and people are probably coming in on Alabama. No surprise there. I think there's a lot of like value in the SEC. Like looking at that in terms of championship game winners, like Texas and Georgia are kind of like in a tier of their own in terms of the odds. They're plus 280, plus 290 respectively. Bama's down the third best odds, but at plus 480. So some good value behind that in terms of what you think. It will be fun to see what goes on there. Then go back to Georgia after that, incredible game just a year ago with Ryan Williams going doing his thing. But this was a schedule that I think you looked at maybe 2 years ago in the out of conference. That was something that was going to be concerning.
Scary.
And if you added that with Georgia on the road and Tennessee and Oklahoma and whoever else, like that would have been very, very nerve wracking. But the reality is Florida State and Wisconsin, much different programs than they were just 2 years ago. You do have to play UL Monroe, and we love Bryant Vincent here. So good for them for getting that cash. Hopefully can put some resources into that program so we could win for UL Monroe. But yeah, I'm also in the SEC. That schedule, that stretch between mid-October to mid-November, what it looks like a gauntlet. I think those teams could be looking and viewed upon a lot differently than maybe we view them right now in terms of things that can go wrong, injuries, depth, attrition, coaching changes, stuff like that can happen and really shake up this schedule, which looks like a tough one in that stretch there. It could potentially be one of their easier stretches of the schedule. So it'll be interesting to watch out. Obviously, Bama, they have it again. The talent, they got a great coach. They'll figure it out here. And I think if I do want to ask you this, what's like a disappointing season for Alabama here? Like what
9 wins,
Yeah.
which is crazy to say. 9 wins, I think it's disappointing. Like I first of all, are you on the over?
Yeah, I'm
You're
on the over.
leaning. Okay. Schedule dynamic. We just talked about it, but I'll reiterate a different point regarding schedule. What are your two toughest games on the schedule?
Georgia, LSU.
Great. What are you doing the week before those games?
It's bye.
You have a bye before both of
Yeah.
those. The ceiling of this schedule, it just works out well, man. I really think that this team is going to go to the college football playoffs. I think that, in my opinion, the best value, I think I got a plus 1,200. I think you could have gotten it better a while ago. Fortunately, I missed that wave, but this is a dang good football team, and they should be winning double-digit games. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you there. I think, and at 9-3, like with this schedule, you're not going to the playoffs. Or, well, okay, I can't say that right now, but I don't think you will. Like, I don't think you will be in the 10 or so at large bids or top 10 teams, I guess, is what you're going to be at. But yeah, and that also means like you're losing to like other college football playoff contenders, Georgia, LSU, South Carolina, like Oklahoma, whatever it may be. But yeah.